Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. I'm Kyle Bryant. And I'm Sean Bombsark. Together, we are constantly seeking opportunities to live beyond our circumstances.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We have an incredible guest for you once again today. Today, our guest, his name is Travis Flores, and he's an award-winning children's book author, and he's a philanthropist. He's got a master's degree and all kinds of other stuff. I think it's important that you hear it from him because he's really got an awesome story, and we're really excited to have him on the show today. Sean, how's everything going?
Going just fine. Been looking forward to this recording. I don't know exactly how I stumbled across Travis, but I've been following him on Instagram for a few months now and been looking forward to this conversation. So awesome. I'm ready to jump right in.
Awesome. By the way, for all of our listeners out there, Sean sounds a little funny today because he's actually on his phone rather than in his podcast studio.
Okay.
So there we are. But we should be good. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Travis Flores to the show. Travis, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
No problem, man. How are you guys?
We're hanging in there. We're doing well. Tell us a little bit of your story. I mean, you heard, I give you a brief intro, but we want to hear it from you.
I have cystic fibrosis. I have had 2 double lung transplants since 2015, the first being in March 2015, the second being in October of 2017. So tomorrow is a big day because it's the 11th-month anniversary of the transplant. It's been a really long journey. I've done a lot of things in my life, and I've spent a lot of time in the hospital, and it's made me a really, really strong person, and I'm proud to do the work that I do, and I'm proud to be on this podcast with you guys. And, I think Shira actually is our mutual connection there, Shira Strongman. She's a wonderful friend of mine, and she's been there through a lot with me, and I've been there with her through some pretty significant things as well. So it's a great community to be a part of, and now I'm happy to have you guys.
Yeah, awesome.
I think a lot of our listeners might recognize Shira's episode as the director and founder of Sick Chicks. So I'm trying to pull up the awesome.
Well, and, that is a beautiful illustration, I think, of this community where, you get connected and you just kind of get in the network of all the people that are, pulling for each other and for a common cause, and it's an absolutely beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really awesome moment when you enter a community like this and you realize, wow, I'm not so alone. I spent so many years of my life feeling alone. And then when this community opened their hearts to me, it was like, wow, this is amazing. And we don't all have the same conditions, but we certainly all understand what it's like to live with a condition.
Absolutely. Love that.
That's a good point. I like the way you said that. I'm curious, before we keep going, you just said you felt alone for a long time in the beginning. Can you share with us why? Like, what is it? I don't know if that is a reflection of your family life, or is it more of a reflection of you were diagnosed and you didn't know anybody else facing such a challenge?
For a long time, I just didn't know anyone that was sick because I managed to stay out of the hospital until I was about 8 years old. And then around 8, I started being admitted, and that's where I started meeting people who were sick. And it wasn't the best feeling because I wasn't as sick as these people were, and I was scared, so I kind of isolated myself. I didn't want to see what my future could potentially be. And then as I got even older, I realized that the couple of friends that I did have passed away, and that was catastrophic to me, especially considering that those friends had cystic fibrosis. So I was like, wow, this is my future, and I don't want to see the future anymore. I'd rather just live in the present moment. So I really shut myself off to that. But what I found was, when I was in a long-term relationship, and when that ended and she and I split, I found myself absolutely alone. It's my family I wasn't living with my family anymore because I was in college or just out of college, actually. I just moved to Los Angeles. I didn't have anyone. And then all of a sudden this community came to me and invited me in, and I felt so rejuvenated and so inspired by so many of the stories I was hearing and being shared, and it was an incredible feeling to know that the community was always there. I just had to open my eyes to it.
That's amazing. So, Travis, one of the first things I notice when I read your Wikipedia page is it says you're a philanthropist. And that's such a cool term, like to own for yourself, right? But philanthropists, I feel like when I think of that term, I think of somebody who's like 50 years old or like 65 or something, right? That's like had a really great career and is giving back now. And tell our listeners how old you are.
I'm 27. I feel like, I'm pretty young, but I've had a really great career. Granted, I don't look at a career as necessarily my personal financial gain. I look at my career as the gain that I'm able to put toward others and put toward organizations I care about. Since I was 12, that's all I've really done is worked with the Make-A-Wish Foundation being the number one. And then, I have the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, then Global Genes, and then the transplant obviously created a lot of more organizations like Donate Life. And, it's an incredible thing to have so many organizations that I can just call up and say, hey, guys, it's Travis, and they know who I am. And then we can start working on a project that will bring awareness to their organization, to their mission, to the programs. The most recent one I started to really work with that I loved as a child was Starlight Children's Foundation. And when we were shooting the show, which we'll talk about later for TV, I called up Starlight and I said, hey guys, we'd really love to have you be a part of the show. Can we figure out a way? And we did. And now they're featuring different items in our show, and it's going to bring a lot of awareness to them. We granted a Make-A-Wish while we were doing the project, and that was just me calling up Make-A-Wish and saying, hey, I want to do this. I really feel that this would be a great experience for everyone on set, but more than anything, we can really make a wish child's dream come true. And we did. I think of philanthropist not necessarily by age or amount of money for your own personal. It's more of just what you do with what you already have, and everything that happens to me, I always redirect it toward a charity somehow.
That's amazing. So
I think that's a pretty phenomenal, not necessarily just a philosophy, but a pretty phenomenal way of living your life is constantly looking at how you can give stuff away and how you can help make life better for other people. That's phenomenal.
I agree.
Thank you.
So, Travis, along those lines, I read that you started writing your children's book at age of 13. You started college at the age of 16. I think it said you got your bachelor's when you were 20 and your master's when you were like 22 or something. So, all of that is a pretty young age to be doing all this awesome stuff. Do you feel an urgency to get things done because of cystic fibrosis? Or are you just naturally gifted in these areas?
No, I wouldn't say it's naturally gifted. It's definitely a sense of urgency. And actually, to be really honest with you guys, I started writing the book when I was 8, when I first started meeting those patients in the hospital for the first time, and I was terrified. So I took something that I was scared of, which is spiders. I'm still scared of them to this day. And I turned that thing into something positive for me. And the point was never to publish it. It was just to show these patients, hey guys, like, you can take something you're scared of and turn it into something positive. Like, make something out of this. Make something out of your life. And don't just be sad and sit in the hospital. If you're going to sit in the hospital, do something with your time. And it turned into the book, which was later published at, age 12, 13. And then, yeah, I went on a book tour for 3 years. And I realized, because around 15, I became very sick. And the only way I felt better was to be on book tour. So I'd go on book tour with IVs in my arm, on therapies,
Wow.
and it was the only thing that really kept me energized. And all of a sudden I realized, I said, you know what, I need to go to college as soon as I can, because that's another experience I want to have. I did the book tour. It was amazing. We raised a lot of money and awareness for different organizations, but I really want to go to college, and I don't know if I'm going to be alive to go to college. So I tested into a program and started college at 16. And then at 18, I got into school in New York City. So I went to New York to finish my bachelor's degree. And then the master's degree, I'll be honest with you about that. Holy shit, I'm graduating with a bachelor's degree in acting. What am I going to do with that? And I was like, I need to go to grad school, and I'm only 20, so I don't know how this is going to work. So I applied to a program, because I looked at all the programs across the United States, and I found one at NYU, which is great because I was already in New York City. And it was fundraising and grant making. And that immediately struck a chord with me, because I was like, here we go again. Here's my charities. This is a sign from the universe that this is what I'm supposed to do. But I read in the program that they only accept around 20 people a year from around the world, whoever applies. And I was like, I am never getting in. So I literally laughed as I was applying, thinking I'm never getting in. I wrote a really great essay. And then I had really great recommendations from like Make-A-Wish Foundation and different people that are big heads in the charity world. But I still, I'm only 20 years old, and what are the chances? And sure enough, I got in. And it was a really surreal experience to go to NYU to study something that I had such a passion about, although I didn't really understand the business of fundraising. I loved being a part of it. So going to school to learn how to do it and to understand how to do it, and to also learn about the grant-making process and how to apply for grants and secure those grants, among all the other applications trying to get that same grant. It was the best decision I could have made, because fundraising is fundraising, and when it came time for my transplant, money is very tight, and I didn't know what to do with some of the medications. I had copays and my rent and just living expenses, and I used those skills that I learned in my grad school to fundraise for those transplants. And I never would have been able to do that had I not studied that. And when I studied it, I never thought that's what I would be using it for. So it was a really incredible way that the universe provided to me.
That's amazing. I feel like a lot of times in school, we're like, when are we ever going to use this stuff, right? And then to have something as directly applicable as that is pretty amazing.
It was, truly, and it still is. I mean, I still look at charities and even independent fundraisers for short films or for people like me who need help with their medical expenses. I look at those, and if I see something I can help with, if I see something that I can, use the skills I learned in grad school to help with a cause or a mission or a program. I do. I just reach out to those people and I say, look, I want to help you, and I can help you, and I do, because I believe that's my duty.
Travis, earlier you mentioned that you're 11 months post double lung transplant number 2.
Yeah.
And so how do you have the energy or initiative or drive to help other people when you've been dealt such a tough hand yourself?
It's, you know what, I am so lucky and so grateful. When I was born, I was told that I would be lucky to live to be 5, and I'm 27. Right there alone, I have so much gratitude in my heart and in my soul that how can I not help others? How can I not take that energy that I have every time I think of my organ donors? How can I not take that positive energy and put it towards someone else, and put it toward another initiative, and put it toward another cause? Because if I'm here for this long when I wasn't supposed to be, according to all the doctors, then why else am I here? Like this is my purpose. My purpose. It doesn't matter how tired I am. It doesn't matter how sick I feel. Going through rejection was a totally different experience than cystic fibrosis. I lived with CF my whole life. Cystic fibrosis felt like landing a plane, and when I landed the plane, that was the transplant. I was in this slow decline for so many years until I finally hit the runway. And when I hit the runway, it was the perfect timing. The organ donor was there. But then when I went into rejection, it's like a plane crashing. I had no control. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to land this plane. I didn't know how much time I had, and I felt like I was suffocating because I went from 1 point of breathing capacity to nothing within a year. And that's a very different life than cystic fibrosis. So the fact that another organ donor was there, and when I didn't know if I was going to be able to survive it, I survived. I have to help people. I have to help organizations. I have to put every ounce of energy I have into bringing awareness, and that's just my purpose. That's why I have the energy to do it, because I know I have to.
Travis, I think it takes a whole lot of character, because it's easy. You can think it's easy to just be pissed off and be like, "Oh, I got such a terrible hand," but then to be so grateful and be like, you know what, this is a reason to pay it forward. I really think that takes some incredible character. So I am so honored to hear
I want to
that.
be real, though. I want to be real here with your listeners, because I'm not some super strong human. I was pissed many times.
Yeah.
I went through that anger. I went through that depression. I went through the denial. I went through those moments where I didn't want to leave my room because I could not comprehend what was happening to me and why it was happening to me. And I had those selfish moments where it was like, why me? But I tried my best to see the other side of that too, and think of all the people, including many of my friends, who didn't even have the opportunity to get the first transplant because they couldn't afford it, or because they were too sick, or because their hospital declined them, or whatever reason it was. Here I was having had a transplant, I'm in rejection, and I'm working toward another transplant. I mean, those are the things I had to attach to. But I just wanted to be real with you guys and with your listeners that I had moments of total weakness and total just anger and depression. But I tried my best to come out on the other side, and now I am. And I think that's the important thing from the story. But I am a real person, and I do have those moments for sure.
Understood. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, and I think those moments, or even those seasons, however long they may be, of being pissed off or wondering why, and all those different things, that to me, that's natural and completely fair. Everybody walks through those seasons. But at the end of the day, when you say, okay, it is what it is, what can I do with it? I think that takes an incredible amount of courage and character that Kyle was talking about. And it's in those moments where you realize, okay, you know what, my life, sure, things about it suck. And it may be shorter than most. But you know what, I'm here. And like you said in the beginning, the challenge is to live in the moment, to live in the present. What can I do today to make life better for me and other people? And it's obvious that you have that sort of mentality and that drive in life to do what you can to make a positive impact.
Thank you. I definitely try.
Well, and, I think back to our conversation with Shira as well. We were talking about how it doesn't matter how long you live, as long as your life makes an impact on other people and you make a lasting legacy. I mean, there's long after any of us are gone, there's going to be, these books like you wrote and these episodes and all this positive stuff that all of us are putting together. And, it doesn't matter because really life goes by in a snap, right? Like that's pretty well, it's easy to think about that, but as long as we make an impact that's going to last, that's what we want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Travis, can you tell us what your most recent, adventures are? Like, what are you working on right now that you're really proud of?
So Shira, actually, Shira and I, along with some of our other friends in the rare disease community, we just finished shooting a pilot for television called Sort of Sportive. And this is something I had started writing about 6 years ago because as a teenager growing up in the hospitals, you're constantly thrown into trial studies and trial this and trial that, and some of those lead you to support groups. But the thing with cystic fibrosis, as everyone that's listening who has CF knows, you can't be around another CF patient. It's just not safe. So the support groups I was thrown in were oftentimes support groups full of other patients who I had nothing in common with. So I would sit there and I would listen to them and I would try to understand. But having CF, I've had it my whole life, so I wasn't really sad about CF. I was just kind of like, well, this is normal to me. Whereas somebody who had a condition that was more acute and it was just all of a sudden they had the condition, I absolutely understood why they would be upset, but I had a hard time relating to it. So I look back on those experiences and I think, well, it was, sort of supportive. It wasn't like super supportive, but it did help in ways. So that's where the concept of the show started. And then I just, over the many years, Shira became a part of the project about 2 years ago. So it's been very fun for her and I both to see this finally happen. And we're in the editing process now. And as soon as that's done, we are going toward series, hopefully. But we did our best to really focus on casting individuals like Shira and Madison McLaughlin, whose two sisters have conditions. Madison has her own issues, but her sisters have very rare diseases. And we had actors who also had close relationships in their life with people who passed away from illness. Same with our crew. We had people in our crew who've had cancer, who know people who have died or who are battling conditions. We did our best to really find people who understood. We didn't want to romanticize this at all, because so much of Hollywood romanticizes the things that we're going through, and I was just sick of it. I don't want my stories and my friends' stories who aren't here to be looked at like some kind of twilight romantic life. It's important to me that people see this and they think, wow, if this is how it really is, how can we help? I don't want people to walk away thinking, oh, I want to find a terminally ill patient to be in love with. Like, that's not what this is about. It's about raising awareness and causing change, positive change.
Beautiful. So you said you're in the editing stages right now.
Yeah. Yep.
How, like, have you, do you have to like pitch it to a network, or like, how is this eventually going to be broadcast, or how do we, look forward to it?
Yeah, you guys will all get to see a trailer. That'll be coming out probably, I'm guessing, around October. There'll be a trailer. There might be an exclusive sneak peek, like a scene that you can watch. But we have to be very, very careful because we want to keep it as secret as possible until we get a network to pick it up. And how that works is, I go in and I pitch it with my producer, and we try to get somebody to see what we're trying to do. And the thing about this is for 6 years, I've taken it into different places and pitched it. And I've gotten traction before, but the problem that I always faced is they're like, well, what if we add this love story? And what if we added this? And can we do this? And I'm like, nope, sorry. And I walk away from it. Because I don't care how much money they wave in my face. It's not about that. It's about doing this real. It's about being real and correct and honest. I mean, if I'm going to do a show or a movie of any kind, I'm going to pay tribute to my friends who aren't here to watch it. Like, I'm not going to put something out there that they would watch and be like, Travis, this isn't us. Why are you putting this out? That this isn't what we went through. You know this is not what we went through. So, I mean, I can tell you right now there's a scene where my character, because I'm in the show as well, my character is not able to breathe. And it's a very, very upsetting scene. And my donor family actually was there to watch this scene take place. So they were able to watch and see what my life was like before their loved one saved my life. And it's such a powerful moment, but it's a real moment. It's something that actually happens to people. So we won't go with a network that isn't willing to see that. So, I have a feeling it's gonna land on more of a digital space like Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, that kind of arena.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's wonderful. I
I
love
think
that.
there's, I love the idea behind it, or not the idea, but the commitment to keep it real.
Yeah.
There's something, no matter how big or small the show gets or becomes, there's something powerful in and of itself just to help people understand what life is really like when they're diagnosed or up against a certain issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And we tried our best to really portray that. The characters, all of them, as of right now, have pulmonary hypertension as a result of another illness. So we do 2 illnesses for one character, which I think is another thing that a lot of people don't think about that aren't in our community. They think, oh, well, that person has cystic fibrosis. Yes, but that person also has diabetes. They also have liver disease. They also have kidney disease. It's not just cystic fibrosis. It's a whole slew of conditions, and that's the first thing we highlight in the show is, these patients have PH, but they also have some other major, major illness involved with that.
It sounds like you have a lot going on all the time. Are there any other projects you wanted to share with us and let our listeners know about?
Yeah, I have a book that I am trying to get published. It's a memoir, and they're kind of life lessons that I've learned through living and dying and living again. I also have a screenplay that I'm very, very passionate about that involves a lot of my friends who passed away. I kind of bring them back through the screenplay and pay tribute to them, and that's something I'm very, very much looking forward to doing in the future. It's an interesting thing when I start to feel a sense of loneliness, not because I'm alone, but because I miss my friends. And all I have to do is open up the pages of my screenplay, and I feel like I'm with them again.
Wow.
And that's a really amazing feeling to be able to have. So I hope that people are able to see that someday and able to relate to that the way that I do. Of course, and something else I would like to say to you guys and your listeners is that moving forward was sort of supportive because I do have these other aspirations that I'm trying to reach. We're going to be looking for writers. We're going to be looking for talent and actors who understand, again, illness and who can come on to our show who won't ask us, hey, I don't understand how to put an oxygen cannula on. Can you help us? They'll just be like, oh, yeah, I don't really want to put this on because, I've had to wear them before. That's how I felt when my character had to put an oxygen cannula on. I was like, why did I write that? Why did I do this to myself? But to have actors who understand that process and to have actors who also can say to me, hey, this doesn't feel quite natural. In the hospital setting, we should probably figure out a way to do this that's more realistic. And to that point, to have writers who can say, hey, I'm really thinking of this scene. I think it would be great for the show. I think it brings awareness, and it also drives the characters to the next level. I'm looking for that. So people who are interested in being a part of this amazing journey that we've started, I've already heard from so many, but I'd love to continue hearing from people because if they're willing to put all of their focus and attention into my baby, then I can move on to the next project that brings a ton of awareness to what we're going through, and I can leave them to work on something that I have raised as a child, but now is ready for other writers and other actors.
Love that.
So,
Travis,
with that in mind, how do people find you? How do people connect with you or follow along? How do they join this journey?
So you can. My website is travisflores.org, but I think in today's age, the easiest way is just my Instagram or my Twitter or my Facebook. So my Instagram and Twitter are very simple. It's just at Travis Flores, my name. And then my Facebook is facebook.com/official.travisflores. Somebody else took Travis Flores, so if people want to reach out to me, which many people already have, it's been great reading all these messages from our community. But if you want to engage with me about anything, whether it's advice on your own projects or advice on your own health issues, or you want to work with me on your own project, some people come to me and they just want me to start working with them on their project, and I'm so open to that. Again, I try to focus my attention on a few things at once, but I'm always open to listening to somebody because I know what it's like to not have somebody to listen to me.
Do you have anything else that you want to mention?
I always say this in interviews that I do. I think it's important. When I was young, in my teens, going through cystic fibrosis, I was trying to make all of my decisions based on my cystic fibrosis. Like, where should I even live in the future? Where should I go to college? Should I have children? Should I have, I felt like, am I even a qualified person to be in love with someone? There were so many things that I just didn't feel were right for me because of my cystic fibrosis. But my doctor, his name's Dr. Constant in Cleveland, Ohio, sat me down. He goes, Travis, stop living for cystic fibrosis and learn to live with cystic fibrosis. And it changed my life. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone living with a chronic condition is don't live for it, live with it. Find ways to normalize your life and to strive for your goals, even if they seem impossible because of your condition. It doesn't matter. You can achieve anything if you learn to live with it.
Travis, thank you so much for sharing your story today and just your insight into living with a chronic illness with a lot of character and drive and really benefiting the community, because that's what it's all about. So thank you for teaching us and our listeners today.
Thank you, guys. And, I want to say a special thank you to Shira Strongen as well for connecting us. And I really enjoyed this, and I hope the listeners enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. Find us online at twodisableddudes.com and please subscribe on the iTunes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Special thanks to our production team, Jake Tompkins and Matt LaFleur.
Until next time, keep living with urgency.